The year 2026 delivers one of the most exciting comebacks for zombie movies and series. New viruses, mutations, secret experiments, fast hordes, and long-awaited continuations are set to reshape the entire genre. In today's ranking Top 7 New Zombie Movies and Series 2026, you'll see the titles already generating massive hype and sparking huge expectations. And at the very end, there's a standout 2026 production gaining massive attention. Definitely stay until the end. Night Patrol. The city, plunged into nighttime chaos, becomes a place where the regular police can no longer cope with violence and a series of unexplained attacks. In response, a group of volunteers forms an informal patrol that takes to the streets after dark to regain control of neighborhoods that everyone is beginning to avoid. These are people from different backgrounds, drawn into something that quickly turns out to be much more disturbing than ordinary clashes with gangs. Among the attackers are individuals who behave unnaturally, as if devoid of consciousness and immune to pain, which causes growing fear and rumors about experiments and secret government operations. The tension increases with each passing night, and the heroes must face not only the brutality of the streets, but also the rising conviction that the real threat may come from a mysterious program whose effects have spiraled out of control. In a world where every patrol could be their last, the most important thing is to discover the truth about what really happens in the city after dark. We bury the dead. In a world affected by the consequences of a failed military experiment, Ava, a woman determined and distraught after her husband's disappearance, volunteers to work in a special unit responsible for exhuming bodies from the disaster area. She hopes this will help her find some trace of her beloved, regardless of whether he is alive or not. Once there, she quickly realizes that this is no ordinary cleanup operation. Among the hundreds of bodies, there are disturbing signs that some of them are showing movement, as if some of the dead were not as dead as everyone believed. With each passing day, the number of incidents in which bodies begin to rise and team members die under mysterious circumstances increases. Torn between hope and fear, Ava discovers that the experiment which led to the tragedy may have created something far more dangerous than a simple infection. In a world where the dead do not always stay in their graves, the search for her husband turns into a desperate struggle for truth and survival. Return of the Living Dead. In a small town in Pennsylvania, life goes on peacefully until another leak of trioxin 245 occurs, the same substance that caused the legendary zombie disaster years ago. This time, the drama unfolds in winter, surrounded by snow and Christmas decorations, creating a surreal contrast to what is beginning to happen in the streets. Revived bodies emerge from graves and morgues, fast and intelligent, exactly as fans of the original remember them. The chaos grows with each passing hour, and the residents, cut off from the world and deprived of help, must improvise to survive the first night. This is not a remake, but a completely new story set 18 months after the events of the cult film, with a new group of characters thrown into the same nightmare. Trioxin returns, the zombies return, and the town becomes a battlefield where the past literally comes alive and sets out on a deadly hunt. On the run. After a global apocalypse, a group of survivors roam the wasteland, constantly fleeing from a new, elusive threat lurking in the ruins. These people live on the move. They have no permanent shelter, and every night could be their last. Amid the ashes of a former civilization, they try to find water, food, and a safe place. But danger waits at every turn, not only from other survivors, but also from something that seems worse than death. Their journey is a struggle for survival, in which trust, perseverance, and instinct can weigh more than weapons. In a world where hope is a scarce commodity, decisions made today may determine whether tomorrow will come at all. A question for the audience.
Before we go any further, tell me one thing. In a world of zombies, you always have to choose a path. So tell me, who would you be?
Number one, lone wanderer who trusts no one. Just you the road, and the dead.
Number 2, a leader of survivors. Every choice you make decides who lives and who dies.
Number 3, a night hunter. When darkness falls, you become the predator.
Number 4, an explorer searching for the truth. Because somewhere out there, the cure or the end is waiting.
So tell me, which one are you? Type the number in the comments. I need to know before this begins.
Cold storage. A warehouse operates in an abandoned former U.S. military base. At night, 2 ordinary employees begin their shift, but it turns into hell when a long-dormant, highly contagious, mutating parasitic fungus escapes from the sealed underground. As the temperature rises, the microorganism comes to life. It infects, takes control of its victims' minds, and turns them into grotesque, aggressive monsters. Now, 2 employees and an experienced former bioterrorism agent are the only ones who have a chance to stop the spreading threat before the virus escapes and destroys humanity. This is a horror story with elements of science fiction and black humor. Chaos, panic, mutations, and desperation form a struggle for survival in the face of almost apocalyptic horror. 28 years later, the Bone Temple. 28 years after the first outbreak of the Rage virus, the world remains devastated and full of zones that no one dares to return to. The new installment in the series continues the story begun earlier, immersing the viewer in a brutal, realistic vision of a world ravaged by one of the most dangerous infections in cinema history. The creators reveal few details about the plot, but it is known that the film will show the further fate of young Spike and introduce key characters such as Dr. Kelson, played by Ralph Fiennes, and the mysterious Jimmy Crystal. The production expands on the events prepared by Alex Garland and takes the viewer deeper into the consequences of an epidemic that, after almost 3 decades, has still not been brought under control. The Bone Temple offers a larger scale, a darker atmosphere, and an even more intense look at a world where the infected remain a real threat and humanity fights for each passing day of survival. Resident Evil. In 2026, the Resident Evil franchise returns to theaters with a new reboot film directed by Zach Kreger. The plot focuses on a medical courier who accepts a delivery job to a remote hospital, unwittingly becoming entangled in a deadly epidemic. As the virus begins to spread, the protagonist is thrown into a hell of mutants, chaos, and despair. The film promises a return to the roots of survival horror, a claustrophobic atmosphere, terror, tension, and man's confrontation with beasts replace the blockbuster action of previous adaptations. Production begins on September 18, 2026, and the cast includes Austin Abrams. Mercy. Mercy is not a zombie production, but I decided to include it because it shows exactly where AI-driven storytelling is heading. The film takes place in Los Angeles in 2029, a city overwhelmed by crime and controlled by advanced justice systems. Detective John, played by Chris Pratt, is accused of murdering his wife, and although he insists he is innocent, his fate lies not in human hands. It is an AI judge called Mercy that will decide whether he lives or dies. John has only 90 minutes to prove the truth before the system delivers an irreversible verdict. His desperate escape becomes a race through a city filled with drones, surveillance networks, and secrets that could expose the flaws of the entire justice system. Filmed with long takes, body cams, and drone shots, Mercy traps the viewer inside the countdown, creating a tense, futuristic thriller about trust, control, and the terrifying power of artificial intelligence.